Hello guys, welcome to Biology Made Easy. My name is Miss Natasha and I'm going to take you through today's topic. So in today's session, we are going to look at digestion. So basically, we are going to look at how substances are digested and absorbed in the human body. So without wasting any time, let's jump right into it. The digestion and absorption of nutrients occurs in the alimentary canal, and the alimentary canal is a tube which runs from the mouth to the anus, and that tube is part of the digestive system. So during the process, ingestion takes place first. So ingestion is the process of taking in food substances into the body through the mouth. And then next, digestion takes place. So digestion is the breaking down of large insoluble food molecules into small soluble molecules. And then after those substances have been broken down, absorption takes place. And absorption is the movement of small molecules and ions into the blood through the walls of the intestines. And then after the nutrients have been absorbed, they are assimilated. And assimilation is the movement of digested food molecules into the cells of the body where they are used. So basically, assimilation is using the digested food molecules. And then later, egestion takes place. This is the process of passing out undigested food in the form of feces through the anus. In this diagram, we can see the structure of the human digestive system. The human digestive system is made up of the liver, gallbladder, pancreas, and the alimentary canal. So this is the liver, and just behind the liver, we can see the gallbladder, and this is the pancreas. So this tube in white is the alimentary canal, which is a tube which runs from the mouth to the anus. So the main organs of the alimentary canal are the mouth, the esophagus, the stomach, the duodenum, ileum, colon, rectum, and the anus. So inside the mouth, we can see the tongue and the teeth. So these aid in digestion. So we can also see these salivary glands, and they release saliva into the mouth. And then at the upper part of the trachea, we can see the epiglottis. So the epiglottis closes the trachea so that food doesn't move into the lungs. So the trachea is a tube which is found right in front of the esophagus, and this tube leads to the lungs. So this is the esophagus. This is the stomach, this is the duodenum, this is the ileum, this is the appendix, the cecum, the colon, rectum, and the anus. So the first part of the small intestine is known as the duodenum, and the second part of the small intestine is known as the ileum. So the duodenum and the ileum make up the small intestine. And the first part of the large intestine is known as the colon, and the last part of the large intestine is known as the rectum. So the colon and the rectum make up the large intestine. So this is the anus. And as I've mentioned in the previous slide, the digestive system is made up of the alimentary canal, the liver, the pancreas, and the gallbladder. And the alimentary canal is a tube which runs from the mouth to the anus. So the walls of the alimentary canal contain muscles which contract and relax to move food along it. So the movement of food along the alimentary canal is called peristalsis. So by definition, peristalsis is the process by which food moves along the alimentary canal. And sometimes it is necessary to keep the food in one part of the alimentary canal before moving it to the next part. So there are special muscles that are called sphincter muscles, which can close off a tube completely in some places. in order to keep the food in one part of the alimentary canal. So the special muscles are called sphincter muscles, and they can close the tube completely in some places in order to keep food in one part of the alimentary canal before moving on to the next part. And again, we can see the structure of the human digestive system. This is the mouth, esophagus, the stomach, the duodenum, the ileum, the colon, rectum, anus. This is the liver, and just behind the liver we can see the gallbladder with the bile duct, and this is the pancreas, and this is the pancreatic duct, and it opens into the duodenum. The main organs of the alimentary canal include the mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, and the anus. The first one we are going to look at in detail is the mouth. Food is ingested in the mouth with the help of the teeth, lips, tongue, and saliva. So the teeth bite and grind food into smaller pieces, thus increasing the surface area for digestion. And the tongue mixes food with saliva, and it forms the food into a bolus which can be easily swallowed. So saliva is made in the salivary glands, and it is released into the mouth. Saliva helps to bind the food together, and it lubricates the food bolus so that it can be swallowed easily. So saliva is a mixture of water, mucus, and enzymes, and the enzymes that are found in saliva are known as salivary amylase enzymes. So the water in saliva helps to dissolve substances in the food, allowing the food to be tasted. The mucus helps to bind the food together into a food bolus, and then it lubricates the food bolus such that it can be swallowed easily. And then salivary amylase digests starch into maltose. So salivary amylase breaks down starch to maltose. The esophagus is another important part of the alimentary canal. So the esophagus is a tube that runs from the mouth to the stomach. So this tube moves food down to the stomach from the mouth. So peristalsis is the process by which food moves along the esophagus. And in the upper part of the trachea, we see a piece of cartilage that is known as the epiglottis. So the epiglottis covers the entrance of the trachea when swallowing food. And this stops food from passing down into the lungs through the trachea. So the epiglottis makes sure that food only goes into the esophagus. So the entrance to the stomach is guarded by a ring of muscles that are known as the lower esophageal sphincter. So these muscles relax to let food pass into the stomach. Then the stomach is an important organ in the alimentary canal. The stomach has strong muscular walls which contract and relax to churn the food and mix it with enzymes and mucus. So the mixture of the food, enzymes, and mucus is known as chyme. So the stomach contains cells which secrete mucus, and these are known as goblet cells. The stomach also contains cells which produce protease enzymes, and these enzymes are pepsin and renin. And the stomach also contains cells which produce hydrochloric acid. So the main protease enzyme in the stomach is pepsin. So pepsin breaks down proteins into smaller polypeptide chains. Renin is only produced in the stomach of young mammals or babies. So the main function of renin is to coagulate the proteins that are found in milk. And then pepsin breaks down those proteins into smaller polypeptide chains. So pepsin works best under acidic conditions. So the hydrochloric acid that is produced in the stomach provides an acidic environment in which pepsin can work. And hydrochloric acid also kills bacteria when you ingest food that is infected with bacteria or food that is infested with a lot of bacteria. So the stomach can store food for some time, and the sphincter at the bottom of the stomach opens and lets the food or the chyme into the duodenum. The small intestines are found between the stomach and the colon. They are about 5 meters long and quite narrow. This is why they are called small intestines. So the first part of the small intestines nearest to the stomach is called the duodenum, and the last part of the small intestines closer to the colon is called the ileum. So several enzymes are secreted into the duodenum from the pancreas, and these enzymes include trypsin, amylase, and lipase. So trypsin is a protease, which means that it breaks down proteins into smaller polypeptide chains. Amylase breaks down starch to maltose, and lipase breaks down fats to fatty acids and glycerol. A tube called the pancreatic duct leads from the pancreas to the duodenum, and it carries pancreatic juice from the pancreas to the duodenum. So the pancreatic juice is the one which contains the enzymes. The enzymes include amylase, lipase, and trypsin. And I mentioned in the previous slide that trypsin is a protease which breaks down proteins into smaller polypeptide chains. And then amylase breaks down starch to maltose, and lipase breaks down fats to fatty acids and glycerol. So these enzymes do not work well under acidic conditions, and the food or the chyme that is coming from the stomach contains hydrochloric acid. So pancreatic juice contains sodium hydrogen carbonate, which partially neutralizes this acid. So the pancreas also releases sodium hydrogen carbonate, which partially neutralizes the acid that comes with the food from the stomach. So bile is also released into the duodenum from the gallbladder, and bile is made in the liver, but it is stored in the gallbladder. So the purpose of the gallbladder is to store bile. So the main function of bile is to break down large fat droplets into smaller fat droplets. So basically, the main function of bile is to emulsify the fats. So the absorption of digested food, water, vitamins, and other mineral salts begins in the small intestines. The colon and the rectum are sometimes called the large intestines. This is because they are wider tubes than the ileum and the duodenum. So water and mineral salts are absorbed in the colon. Not all the food can be digested and absorbed, and by the time the food reaches the rectum, most of the food which can be absorbed has already been absorbed. So the undigested food is kept in the rectum until it is passed out at intervals through the anus in the form of feces. So the process of passing out undigested food through the anus is known as egestion. So let's do a recap. Ingestion is the process of taking in food into the body through the mouth, and peristalsis is the process by which food moves along the esophagus from the mouth to the stomach. So the walls of the esophagus are made up of longitudinal and circular muscles which contract and relax. And by doing so, the food is then squeezed forward down the esophagus. So in this diagram, we can see how peristalsis occurs. So these are the circular muscles and these are the longitudinal muscles. The circular muscles contract, making the lumen of the alimentary canal smaller and squeezing food forwards. And the circular muscles in the front of the food bolus relax, allowing the wall of the alimentary canal to expand. So the contraction and relaxation of these circular and longitudinal muscles pushes the food down the esophagus, and this process is known as peristalsis. We can recall I mentioned that digestion is the process of breaking down large insoluble food molecules into small soluble food molecules. So there is mechanical digestion and chemical digestion. Mechanical digestion is the process of breaking down food into smaller pieces without making any chemical changes to the food molecules. And chemical digestion is the process of breaking down large insoluble food molecules into smaller soluble molecules by altering the chemical structure of the molecules. Mechanical digestion occurs in the mouth by the action of the teeth, and it also occurs in the duodenum by the action of the bile salts. And then chemical digestion occurs in the mouth, stomach, and small intestines by the action of the enzymes. So in mechanical digestion, the food will be broken down into smaller pieces without making any chemical changes to the food molecules. And then in chemical digestion, the food molecules will be broken down into smaller soluble food molecules by altering the chemical structure of the molecules. A lot of juices, which are known as digestive juices, containing enzymes and other substances, are released along the alimentary canal to aid in digestion. The digestive juices are secreted in the mouth, stomach, duodenum, and in the ileum. So salivary glands secrete saliva into the mouth. And inside saliva, there is an enzyme that is known as salivary amylase. And salivary amylase breaks down starch to maltose. And then the walls of the stomach secrete gastric juice. And inside the gastric juice, there are two enzymes, pepsin and renin. But renin is only secreted in young mammals. So pepsin breaks down proteins into small polypeptide chains, and renin coagulates the proteins that are found in the milk. Then the gastric juice also contains hydrochloric acid, which provides an acidic environment for pepsin, and the hydrochloric acid also kills bacteria in food. The pancreas secretes pancreatic juice into the duodenum, and inside the pancreatic juice there are a number of enzymes. So the enzymes are amylase, trypsin, and lipase. Amylase breaks down starch to maltose. Trypsin is a protease. It breaks down proteins into smaller polypeptide chains. And lipase breaks down fats into fatty acids and glycerol. And pancreatic juice also contains sodium hydrogen carbonate, which partially neutralizes the acidity of the chyme that is coming from the stomach. And then the gallbladder also releases bile into the duodenum. So bile is made in the liver, but it is stored in the gallbladder. So the gallbladder releases bile into the duodenum. So bile contains bile salts, and these bile salts emulsify fats. The cells covering the villi, which are found in the ileum, secrete a number of enzymes. So they secrete maltase, sucrase, lactase, peptidase, and lipase. So maltase breaks down maltose into glucose, and sucrase breaks down sucrose into glucose and fructose. Lactase breaks down lactose into glucose and galactose, and peptidase breaks down the small polypeptide chains into amino acids. Lipase breaks down fats into fatty acids and glycerol. All the digestive juices contain water and mucus. Water is used for the digestion of large molecules to small ones. It is also a solvent for the nutrients and enzymes. Mucus acts as a lubricant, and it also forms a covering over the inner surface of the alimentary canal, preventing enzymes from digesting the cells of the alimentary canal. Absorption is the movement of small molecules and ions through the walls of the small intestines into the blood, and it mostly occurs in the ileum and the colon. So after the molecules have been digested or after they have been broken down, the food molecules are small enough to pass through the walls of the intestines into the blood. And the products of digestion, which are the simple sugars, amino acids, fatty acids, vitamins, and some water, are absorbed in the small intestines. And water and other minerals are absorbed in the colon. So the walls of the small intestines are specially adapted to make this process of absorption efficient. The walls of the small intestines have got cells that are known as villi. So the molecules or the products of digestion are absorbed into the blood through the villi. So this is what the villi look like, and a single one is called a villus. And on top of the villi there are microvilli, and these increase the surface area of absorption. This diagram illustrates how absorption occurs. So the small molecules such as water, amino acids, sugars, and some fats, minerals, and vitamins are absorbed into the capillaries through diffusion and active transport. So these are the capillaries. They absorb the amino acids, sugars, water, mineral salts, and vitamins. And this is a lacteal. Some fats are absorbed into the lacteals, and from there they are carried in lymphatic fluids to the lymphatic vessels and then to the heart. And the water, amino acids, sugars, minerals, and vitamins are absorbed into the capillaries, and from there they are carried in blood to the hepatic portal vein. I mentioned in the previous slides that the small intestines are specially adapted to make the digestion of nutrients efficient. So the small intestines are very long. They are about 5 meters in an adult human. So this gives plenty of time for the digestion to be completed and for the digested food to be absorbed as it slowly passes through them. The small intestines also have villi, and each villus is covered with cells which have even smaller projections on them. And these smaller projections are called microvilli. So these smaller projections give the inner surface of the small intestines a very large surface area. The larger the surface area, the faster the nutrients can be absorbed. And then the villi contains blood capillaries. So monosaccharides, amino acids, water, minerals, vitamins, and some fats pass into the blood to be taken to the liver and then around the body through those blood capillaries. The villi also contain lacteals, which are part of the lymphatic system. So fats are absorbed into the lacteals. The villi have walls which are only 1 cell thick, and this provides a short diffusion distance where the nutrients can easily cross the wall to reach the blood capillaries and the lacteals. So this is how the small intestines are adapted for absorbing digested nutrients. After absorption, the nutrients are then taken to the liver through the hepatic portal vein. So the liver processes some of the nutrients and others are broken down in the liver. Some of the nutrients are converted to other substances in the liver, and some are stored in the liver. For example, glucose is converted to glycogen in the liver, and then glycogen is stored in the liver. So assimilation is the movement of nutrients into the cells of the body where they are used. So basically, assimilation is making use of the products of digestion, which are the nutrients. This diagram illustrates how the nutrients are carried from the small intestines and from the colon to the liver. So they are carried from there through the hepatic portal vein. So the liver also regulates the blood glucose concentration, and it also regulates the concentration of amino acids. The liver is responsible for breaking down alcohol, and it is also responsible for the detoxification of toxins. The liver can also store fats and carbohydrates in the form of glycogen. So the liver has got many functions in the human body, so it is very essential in the body. Egestion is the process of passing out food that has not been digested or absorbed through the anus in the form of feces. So the undigested food material is kept in the rectum, and it is passed out at intervals through the anus. We have come to the end of our session, so thank you guys for watching until the end.